My name is John Rabishko. A little bit about myself before I get started. Beautiful church, thank you for this opportunity as well. First time here at this church. I'm a member at St. John Newman. In my past, I had lived in Rosemont, Farmington, and then I'd settled in Eagan for a long time. And I originally from Hutchinson. I come from a large family. My mom has 17 brothers and sisters, and of those, 5 of them were nuns and 1 was a priest. So very Catholic farm family back in the day. And I grew up in Hutchinson, went to St. Anastasia Catholic School, went to Hutchinson High School, then went on to St. John's University. It's just a natural progression with my whole family's history and tie to St. John's. And so from there, played football, lived overseas, came back from living in Singapore and was working in a leasing business, went to Phoenix, came back to St. John's, found a job, started working trying to find my career here, and got introduced into the mortgage business. So I'm sure you've probably figured out what's going on here, where this will lead, but got into the mortgage business and started making so much money I didn't know. It was crazy. I've never seen that much in my life. Grew up in a very simple house in Hutchinson, and unfortunately that started to skew my whole moral compass, my ethics, what I was looking for in life, and ended up really ruining my marriage, ruining my life. I pretty much now reflecting back, I was imprisoned inside my own mind because I was chasing the material items and all the money that I got a taste of. And I started ignoring all the other pieces of my life falling apart. And so going through a divorce, I wanted to keep up that same lifestyle. And so in my brilliant wisdom, I got an idea to try and do what I saw other people doing. Now, take it for granted to hear that when I started the mortgage business, I noticed so much corruption and people doing illegal stuff, I just turned a blind eye. Turning a blind eye, looking back now, is just as culpable as doing the activities itself, because I got numb to the whole fact of all the illegal activity that was going on. And so when I got pushed into a corner through my divorce, I felt like I needed to keep up my lifestyle, and I was unwilling to change and to see all that. And so I put some houses in my mom's name, later told her, with the help of my processor and another banker, and I kind of put her in the corner, said, hey, I put some houses in your name, I'm going to take care of this, don't worry about it. Well, I couldn't keep up the payments, the bank started calling, my siblings and family found out, they tried to do an intervention with me, I didn't want anything to do with it, and the pieces and the bricks started crumbling. So the local police had called me and said my mom had to file a police report to get it off her credit. Local police called, and then I said, we said, we're trying to work something out. He's like, this is a family mess, just figure something out and we'll be fine. So we're in the process of working with my mom's attorney and everything else, and all of a sudden one morning I get a knock, 6 a.m., not knowing who it is. Well, soon to find out, I had 30 FBI agents breaking down my door and having me at gunpoint in my bed. Not knowing what was going on, I continued to cooperate, work with them, told them everything I knew. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I've seen so many people do much worse. And so I did cooperate for about 2 years, entered in a plea agreement, ended up serving about almost 4 years in a federal prison. Now, the 4 years wasn't in a nice camp, which you hear about the camps, and the camps in prison in the federal system is a pretty easy life. It's just you just can't leave, and it's an adult daycare. And so, but the hard part is about it being in that is it's the mental aspect of prison. I mean, not let alone that I served time in some harder prisons because I was missentenced and they made some mistakes in my process. But the biggest part was that mental portion of getting through. Like I was mentioning today, I felt like I was wronged the whole way through. And, even though I did a plea agreement, I didn't feel like that plea agreement was honored the way it should have been. And I wasn't, sentenced fairly. And so I was sending appeals, and I was desperately trying to fight my case while I was in prison. Now, the plus of that is it gave me hope, and it helped me get through the time of those 4 years. So it made that time, my whole thought of, I'm going to be out soon, I can do this. However, there's a point where it came to that I stopped fighting, and I finally took responsibility, saying, listen, I did what I did. I put this decision in front of the U.S. Attorney and the judge. I have to accept that. And as soon as that part hit me, I finally felt a peace that came over me that I've never felt. Now, while I was inside the whole time, I would do Bible studies. There's quite a few Bible studies. And I became a part of the REC program, which I'll get into a little bit later, but it's the Residents Encountering Christ. We never had a program like that in the federal system. But I was blessed to reach to one individual who challenged me to read the Bible. Growing up throughout my Catholic upbringing, I really did not have a big focus on reading the Bible on a daily basis. And so he challenged me, since I had time, read the whole Bible in a year. And so I embarked on that challenge, and it was something new to me. And this was a most unlikely guy, just of different culture, upbringing, every kind of way. And we met every day for an hour and did our own one-on-one Bible study. That ultimately changed my life. I mean, he had his girlfriend send in a book to me that really changed my life, the Captivity series. It related the Bible to a lot of aspects that we were going through in the prison system. And so that was a very big moment for me. And, I continue those things today, because if you don't develop a pattern while you're inside, when you get out in the community, it's a rat race where you lose your senses, and it's easy to get back into the issues in the world. Beforehand, I ran to Phoenix. I always thought that running away from this, because I was in the papers, and so part of the whole process of getting back into the community is I need to address my community. Well, when I got sentenced and I was on the front page of the Star Tribune, I was on Nightline, and it was all over the media, I felt ashamed. And so I ran to Phoenix, thinking that that's going to take care of my problems, because people aren't going to judge me there. Well, I almost changed my designation back to Phoenix when I was leaving the prison system, but I decided to come back because I have 2 kids here, 16 and 12 right now. And even though I put them through incredible harm, I still needed to be there for them while I still had an opportunity to make an impact on their life. And so I made a decision to, instead of running from this problem, to embrace it head on. And, and that's one of the things. A lot of people like to hide from the whole fact that I was in prison, and they don't like talking about it. And, to me, it's one of the best things that happened to me, because I actually found myself when I was broken at my weakest point, and now have learned, kind of gotten back on track to what's important. And how faith is and I see this in other people and their struggles, and how I've learned to deal with and see things in a better picture. Because while I was in prison, things weren't going right, and things weren't fun, and I was missing out on holidays, but I was healthy, and I had so much to be grateful for that other people in the community didn't have that. And so how could I feel sorry for myself if I have so much other benefits that other people don't have? And so I learned a lot of valuable lessons in that regard. But obviously, after prison, all right, so the struggles of being imprisoned and being in Google and having all your background search, it's hard to find jobs. It's hard to find a place to live. It's hard to get the basic foundation of your life to get back in the community. So you're digging yourself out of a hole. And one of the problems is that you can't rent anywhere. Hardly any rental apartment complex will let me rent. And so I was making decisions about moving in with a girlfriend too fast, or doing things because I was so scared and fearful of where I was going to live, my most basic, need, let alone finding a car and getting a job, and so that's still an ongoing struggle. But I look back, and every day I've been, my food's provided for, I have a roof over my head, so, it's not where I thought I'd be, but it's not awful as well. And so my opportunities, I was introduced to a tech program, the Central Minnesota Tech Program, when I got out. By someone mentioned it, that was one of the top 5 experiences they ever did in their life. I've always wanted to do a retreat, so I embarked on that. And that changed my life, because I met so many people there through connections that I knew in the past, and just new connections with younger individuals had impact. And it's such an amazing weekend. I wanted to continue that feeling on further. And so I continue to do a rec program, which is Residents Encountering Christ, where we take retreats inside jails. This is a great opportunity for me to kind of be able to put people and talk to inmates that are in my shoes to give them hope. That's one thing that I always, it's a very, how do I say, dungy place. It's very negative, and in the prison system and the jails. And so one thing that people want to see is, I want to see, is hope, and I wish someone had had that with me. So now I'm trying to show them that, hey, you know what, I might be different than you in my upbringing, but I'm no different. Even though we have different paths, I'm just like you. And like the judge said too, he's like, he really despised what I did to my own family, because I had all the necessary upbringing and the fortunes to have a solid foundation, where most other prisoners don't have that type of opportunities that I did. And so if it's hard for me after prison to get jobs, find rental places, and to get back in my life, it's even that much harder for people that don't have those basic foundations before they went in. And so it's an ongoing struggle. I mean, I can only do so much, but yet there's a lot that I still can do. And so that's one of the reasons why I like being involved and helping out other people, and being involved with retreats and the church. And one of the things too about the church is, when I went through my, as I said, I grew up in a very Catholic family. And even though I went through something like this with my family, and I had lots of family that were in the Catholic Church, they didn't separate that. They got mad at me, didn't listen to my side of the story, and judged me very harshly because of what I did to my own family. And so to me, I'm like going, okay, well then you're actually contradicting what the Bible and the church is preaching. And so, when I first got out, I had the stigma that the Catholic Church was very, in their ways, and, very cold, and would judging, and looked at me harshly, and not a very open, friendly type of environment. So I started branching out to some non-denominational churches where I had songs from my familiar, because I listened to K-Love, and that's only the station I got in prison, so I really got into Christian music. But I also realized that, the Catholic Church offers the sacraments and the ritualism and a lot of aspects that is still true to my core, and that's where obviously my allegiance is. But that's just one of the hurdles that I encountered through my own family and to this day. Obviously when you're in the system, trust is a big deal. The common word is you don't trust anything you hear, or half of what can be proved. And it's a sad environment to live in, but that's one of my hurdles today is it's hard to trust people, because when you're beaten down so hard, you don't believe anyone's going to do anything just for the good of you. There's always, you don't think that people are going to, there's enough people out there that are going to care about you, and that, they're just going to do their own thing and just let you flounder. So, one of the things that I like to see is just the non-judgmental, and just being very open and caring, but it's taking that extra effort to really engage other people, other inmates that have been in prison, and show them that you care, and just take a vested interest, and that goes a long way. Because going through what I had gone through, I realized that there's not a lot of true friends out there, because when you go through a system like this, it's hard. People like to run away from you and disassociate with you, and so you don't have a lot of people that stick with you, and so you're on your own a lot. And then another item kind of tying back to that is, when you're in prison, mail time is special. And so if you have an opportunity to ever write someone and engage a relationship with someone that's in prison, writing letters is huge. I mean, I know they have emails now, but that costs money. And when you don't have money and you're in prison or in jail, it's extremely, extremely hard just to live off the food that they feed you, and just, not have those opportunities for commissary or for communication. So any opportunities that you can get to write letters is priceless, because mail time is a valuable opportunity. So I don't know if you have any other questions. I kind of went off on a lot of different tangents, but more than welcome to answer any questions now if there's a Q&A, or at the lunchtime as well. So, thank you.